Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hello guys, this is Athar Salim. Welcome to our second lecture on Visual Basic for Applications. In the last lecture we just discussed about some basic concepts. Let's see what were them. I will show you. We go to lecture number 2 slide. Okay, so first thing is the recap. What we talked about in the first lecture, two major things: how to turn on the developer tab or the developer menu, and the second we talked about threads and processors. So let's recap and look at what it is about the developer tab. Okay, let me zoom a bit. So this is the developer tab. Right here. So the way to turn it on is to right click anywhere on the menu, then choose customize the ribbon, and then from the right side under the customize the ribbon we select the developer tab. Once we select this developer tab, the developer tab will appear in our Excel menu, and from here we will control our VBA. We will use the VBA function of Excel. The second thing, okay, second thing we talked about was threads and processors. So I have changed a bit of video settings for this and some sound settings for this recording. I am actually testing some settings, so I hope with after a couple of lectures we will reach to the optimum video and sound settings. So what I want to show you is my notebook. Here we go. I'm ready with my notebook. Why in the notebook? The issue was that when I reviewed my first lecture, it looked to me that I was unable to fully explain why threads and processors were important. So let me explain about threads and processors a bit more and why they are important for VBA. So as you all know, there is at least one processor in every computer which processes our commands. So let's draw a processor. Let's assume this is our processor with lots of connections with the motherboard. We will call it CPU 1, Central Processing Unit 1. Okay. This is good till we had Pentium 3 or 4. After that, what Intel did was attached another CPU with the main chip. Let's create or draw another CPU. This is CPU 2, and then what Intel did was created a chip which had two CPUs back to back and put them in on the motherboard. So this became the dual core processors with two CPUs. And then came the hyper threading technology. Let me explain hyper threading on this page. So this is our main CPU, let's say one CPU, and we will name it CPU 1. Now as you understand, Windows is all about multitasking. So in multitasking we may have our Windows running in the background, the operating system itself. Then we may have Excel, we may have Word, we may have PowerPoint running at the same time. So how this CPU will be allocating its processing power among these applications? If Excel is being processed, then Word has to wait. And if Word is being processed, then PowerPoint has to wait. So what intelligent technology did was that divided its this processor, the CPU, into two parts. Let's assume this is the division line. This division was marked as threading. This was thread 1 and this was thread 2. The processor's power has been divided into two parts. Now 50% is being used by Excel and 50% was used by the Word. And then came another twist, and the twist was that if there are two processes going on within Excel, for example, when you want to change font of font within your Excel sheet or the color of the font, there are two things happening. One, Excel is changing all font colors, and the second thing is Excel is updating the display at the same time. There is one thing going on with the actual data in the background, and the other thing is your visual effect, that is your screen, that is also being updated. So there are two processes going on within Excel at one single time. So what happens is that instead of Excel and Word processing through one processor, now Excel has two processes and both are being processed separately in this threading world. Here actual data is being processed, and in this section the screen updates are being processed. This is working on screen and this is processing on actual data. So we have lots of funny stuff on this page. Let's discard it. So let's draw this again. This is thread 1, this is thread 2, and these both exist within CPU 1. So when I say Excel please update something, so Excel start processing two things. First process is happening here, second process is happening here. But the question is, can Excel do this? The answer is yes, but if Excel is calculating a big sheet, what's happening is all the calculation is going on in this thread. And what we are missing is that this processor is doing, this thread is doing nothing, and the whole pressure is on thread 1. Secondly, if we are processing VBA, then VBA is taking this space. VBA is not using the whole CPU because VBA is a single threaded language. It can only process the commands within one thread. So therefore, it, if we are working on a larger workbook, it is better to have a complete CPU available for calculations or available to VBA instead of dividing its power into two parts. I hope I'm making it clear because this is important if you are really working on a big database or a big workbook. If we talk about the quad core processors like i7 or the old quad cores, they have 4 CPUs. CPU 3 and CPU 4. So what I always suggest people who work in budgeting or who have to work on a bigger databases that are being maintained in Excel, I always tell people go and buy a quad core computer. i7, most of the processor in i7 are quad core, but there are dual core in i7 also. So you have to be critical about while choosing your laptop or your computer. So once you have this quad core uh, computer, then you need to turn off hyper threading. Hyper threading. Let me show it to you if you can have a better view how. Okay, here it is. Hyper threading. Search hyper threading on Google and turn that off if you feel like that Excel is slow or it is hanging. And it is not necessary that you should have a quad core computer. If you have a dual core, my Surface is uh, dual core, and it is good enough for me. I'm just referring you need a quad core when you are doing some heavy stuff on Microsoft Excel. But even on i5 with dual core processors, what I need to do is I need to turn off hyper threading if needed. Otherwise, uh, 70 to 80% of the times, hyper threading is good. Excel works perfectly fine. But if if you're working on a heavy database, lots of VBA going on, lots of calculation is involved, then you need to turn off hyperthreading, move to dual core, fully available to Excel, only two processors, 100% available, and even if they are not enough, then you need to move to quad core processors. So this is about threads and processes I wanted to highlight more, and now we will move to today's lesson. Alright, we are ready to record our first macro. So what is a macro? Before I show you how to record it, let's talk about what is a macro. A macro is a set of commands that is recorded in a Visual Basic for applications, that is the language of Excel, programming language of Excel in VBA. So macro is a set of commands recorded in VBA language in Excel, and that becomes part of your workbook. And that workbook is XLSM. We will talk about XLSM later. So let's start recording our first macro. I am in The developer menu we turned on yesterday and also I showed you today. In this developer menu, you can see we have a Visual Basic icon. My mouse was on the second screen, sorry for that. So it is back on the first screen now that you can see. Okay, we have Visual Basic icon, macros, record macros, use relative references, macro securities, then there is add-in section, then there is a control section, and then there is XML section. uh, we will not be using all these icons in our tutorials, but we will be using the most relevant and that you should know and that are practical. So we have this record macro option available, and if I can show you a different screen, so you can see on the left bottom we have this icon and nothing appearing on this corner of the screen. Okay, when I click on, once I go to the zoom for your better view, then I will going to click on this record macro. So when I click on the record macro icon, which is appearing in the background, I got this window, and this window says record macro, macro name, and then there is a name already given by Microsoft Excel, that is macro 1. Then we have shortcut key, that is control plus something. Then Excel is asking where to store this macro, this workbook. Do we want to give a description? We are not going to do anything right now. We are just going to press OK. So when I press OK, what happened is that the record macro turned into stop recording. And if I'm going to show you the full screen, you will notice in the left down corner, bottom left corner, there is a square appeared. That is showing that we have a macro in recording, and if we click here or on the stop recording, our recording will be stopped. So what it is recording? Excel is right now recording my moves. All the steps I will take, Excel will record them. I have done nothing right now. I just clicked on the menu and moved mouse a bit, but I have not made any changes in our worksheet. So let's make some changes. I'm clicking on cell A1, then I dragged the mouse. Let me see if I can show you mouse a bit too. Alright, now you can see my mouse too, and let me drag it a bit away. Here we go. So we are ready. So I'm going to click on cell A1 and I'm to select with left click whole of this region. Then I'm going to home, copy, click on cell D1 and paste. So I have an activity of selecting certain cells, copying them and then pasting at another range. So let's go back to developer and stop recording. Now what's happened is from the click on cell A1 till the pasting of the data. All my steps have been recorded by Microsoft Excel or VBA in a macro called macro1. If you recall, when I clicked on record macro button or icon, the window that appeared saying record macro had a macro name, and in that menu there was macro 1. Let's click on macro record macro again. This was the window, and now you can see macro 2 because I'm recording again. Excel is assigning a new name. The first name was macro 1, now it is macro 2. Let's cancel it for the time being, and let me clear this part of the sheet. Delete. Okay, so we are back to the data with which we started. Okay, I had to stop. That news, the paperman came and just forget it. All right, so in the developer menu, let's click on this second icon that says macros. I'm clicking on the macros icon and this new window appeared before me. Macro, macro name, macro 1, run, step into, edit, delete, options, macros in, description, all open workbooks, cancel. I'm just reading you out the options available in this window just to make you familiar. Right now we are concerned with which macro is selected because I have only one macro in my workbook, which is macro 1, which is already highlighted. I have do nothing but just to click on this run. So I am just let me move it back a little bit, or this is the best place, or let me put it here. We can move it later. So run. When I click on run, click. What happened? Okay, let me delete it again. Delete. And now run macro again. So what's happening is that macro recorded my all moves. I selected cell A1, then I selected a range from A1 to C6, and then I pasted on D1. So, these three steps are being repeated by the macro or the VBA. But this is happening so quickly that we cannot see the steps, but the end product, that this range is being copied over this range. This is being processed very quickly, so we can only see the end result. We cannot see the steps in between. So this is our macro, which is recording my steps, and then when I say, they are being repeated. So at this point I I get questions like, can we do it on different sheet, can we do it on different data range, uh, and questions like that, and I answer them, whatever you think, whatever you think is possible, unless and until you get to a point where you came to know that this is end of it, Excel or VBA can't do it. Remember one thing, Excel can do anything unless proven otherwise. These are key golden words. Remember these. Excel and VBA can do Anything you can think of can be done, can be programmed. VBA can do it until unless proven otherwise. For example, when I say until proven otherwise, if we go to the end of Excel sheet, let's go to the last cell. Here we see the last cell is 1048576. So this is the last row. So this is the limitation of Excel. Till the time we reach such limitation, always remember Excel can do it. Right? So I can't emphasize on this more. Whatever you think is possible. Remember this. So let's get back to our sheet and our macro. Let me delete this portion again. Okay, let's change the stuff. Let's sort it out. Data sort. Now if apple is at the top, pineapple is at the bottom, orange is somewhere at the second last. Before this, if I press Ctrl Z, undo it, we had mango at the top. So let's redo and now run our macro. I am running macro 1 and apple is at the top. So what is happening? Think about it. Excel doesn't remember the data. Excel or VBA in macro remember the steps. When I had mango at the top, macro, and I ran the macro, mango was at the top. When I changed the data and then ran the macro, in the new data, apple was at the top, and when I ran the macro, apple was at the top. Because VBA is not concerned with the data in a cell when copying and pasting. This is what exactly happens when we do manual copy and paste. Whatever data is there, it will be copied and pasted. So remember, when we start recording, Excel will start recording our steps and then it will copy paste. Okay, let's do another thing. Let's clear this out. Apple is at the top. Let me sort. Let's try to do record another macro. This is macro 2 and I say OK. Now I am selecting this range, data, sort. Let's sort on the price, rather quantity. Let's sort on quantity and say OK. My data is sorted now. I am selecting Control C, D1, Control V. So while I am recording the macro, I have sorted, copied and pasted. These three steps I have done. So let's stop the recording. Let's delete this data and remember this. Pineapple is at the top, mango at second, apple third, banana fourth and orange at fifth. So delete this and let's sort it back on the basis of the product. So now apple is at the top. Let's go back to our dear macro. From the developer menu, the second option, macros, which is also Alt F8. So let's click Alt F8. So here comes our macro window. Now we have two macros, macro 1 and macro 2. We recorded second macro with the name of macro 2. Let's run macro 2. What happened? If you recall, we had mango at the top. Let's do it again. Delete data sort. We have apple at the top, developer, macros, run macro 2. Ta-da! Boom! We have pineapple at the top. This time data is being sorted by the macro, copied and pasted. So whatever I do after starting the recording, after clicking the record button, all my steps then are recorded, and when I say run them, they are being repeated. This is the basic concept. So see how simple it is in Excel. And as we move along, you will notice that when we go to actual codes, that the codes are very simple also. So let's delete this stuff and start recording macro 3 this time. Well, let me stop it and record again, and this time this is macro 4, and let's assign a shortcut key to, and shortcut key is, let's say, control. I'm pressing the shift button also, control shift, and let's assign T. Okay, what's happening? Please assign T. Okay, I don't have to press control. All I have to do is press shift and T. Control is added by default. So shift and T. Now you can see that the shortcut key is shift control T. Okay. Let's sort my data on the basis of alphabets, and then let's highlight bananas and oranges with different colors. And what else we can do? Let's format price as dollars, and let's make some changes to our headings also. Put some borders, color them red, make them center aligned. Now select them, Control C, D1, Control V, and after pasting, let's sort them out on the basis of price this time, and say OK. And this is where we press stop recording. Remember, always remember to stop recording, because if you don't stop recording, all the commands keep recording, even it is running another macro. So always remember, once you start recording, you have to stop recording. Say with me, I will stop recording always. Okay. Okay, let's get back to our worksheet. Let's delete these columns. Hello. Delete columns, or I have this here icon. Delete column. Gone. Boom. Okay. We have stopped recording. We have cleared the target area. What else we need to do? Oh yes. We assigned the shortcut key. Now we are not going to Run macro from click of macros, and here is our macro for no sir, I'm not going to run macro through that path. What I'm going to do, shift control and T, boom, we have got our results. Formatted, sorted, copy pasted, everything done quickly, very quickly, blink of an eye. Let's delete this. Let's go to our macros windows again. This is macro 4. I click on macro 4, options. Let's change our shortcut key. Change it to W. Shift and W. Let's add some description. Description is, let's say, format, sort, copy and paste. Okay, so here is my macro 4 with subdescription appearing, format, sort, copy and paste right here. Let's click, let's cancel it and let's try it. We assign W, shift control and W, boom. So what you understood, you can record a macro. After clicking on the record button, your steps will be recorded. You need to stop recording, and through shortcut key or the macro icon, macro menu, you can repeat whatever you did earlier. Okay, now you can see what we have achieved today, and that is we recorded our first macro, we used shortcut keys, and that's some thunderstorms going on over my head. That is I need to few things. Hopefully in the next lecture, what I want you to do as your homework, change font color, change font size, try to use self fill, try to sort data, try to apply filters, try to resize columns, record your steps, and then repeat them through running the macro. So this is assignment for you. I hope today you will gain some confidence that macros are very simple, VBA is also very simple, and lot of stuffs can be automated, and Excel can repeat stuff for you with blink of an eye. Thank you very much. See you again.